Teacher talking sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And it was just a few days ago where it was announced that Deebo Samuel has requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. Samuel was drafted by San Francisco in 2019. So Bill Barnwell of ESPN, one of my favorite writers. I absolutely love Bill Barnwell's work. The problem is almost all his writing is on ESPN Plus, so if you don't have it, you can't see it. So I'm not going to share the article. I'm just going to go over what he mentions. He ranks the 2019 wide receiver class, so he ranks 8 players, wide receivers that were drafted in 2019. He ranks them by how productive and how much he would want them over the next few years. He said, imagine if you put them on a league average team, how he thinks they would fare. And he gives his predictions for what he thinks will happen to them in the near future. So we'll get into that. We'll start with how he ranks the 8 wide receivers, starting with A.J. Brown of the Tennessee Titans. Brown played 13 games last year at 869 yards, 5 touchdowns, went over 1,000 yards each of his first 2 seasons, and actually leads the 2019 class, averaging 69.7 receiving yards a game. Second, he had Terry McLaurin, who was taken 76th overall in the 3rd round by Washington 2019. He has gone over 1,000 yards each of the last 2 seasons, scoring 16 touchdowns in his 3 years. Third, he's got DK Metcalf. Metcalf had the best stats in his second year, 1,303 yards and 10 touchdowns. The yardage slipped to 967, playing all 17 games. He hasn't missed a game yet in his 3 years, but he did have 12 touchdowns. Fourth, he's got Deontay Johnson of the Steelers, 3rd round pick, 66th overall in 2019. 1,161 yards and 8 touchdowns last year, averaging just 10.9 yards a reception for his career. Fifth, Deebo Samuel, as I mentioned in the beginning, requested a trade. Kind of surprised he's this low. Barnwell questions whether he could be this productive with the 49ers. Also mentions how he had 3 receptions over 75 yards, which helped bolster his yards of reception average, which led the league last year at 18.2. Had 1,405 receiving yards as well as 365 rushing yards and 8 rushing touchdowns last season. Sixth, he had Marquise Brown of the Baltimore Ravens, 25th overall in 2019. Brown just had his first 1,000-yard season, 1,008 yards, and that was with Lamar Jackson missing some time. Seventh, Hunter Renfrow, who had a breakout year last year, the 5th-round pick in 2019, caught 103 passes for 1,038 yards and 9 touchdowns. Barnwell questions whether he can repeat that. Of course, the Raiders have traded for Davante Adams, and also star tight end Darren Waller missed a lot of last season. And the last guy of the 8 he ranks is Mecole Hardman of the Kansas City Chiefs, 2nd-round pick. Last season had 59 catches for 693 yards. After averaging 20.7 yards a reception as a rookie, that dropped to 13.7 in his second year and down to just 11.7 last year. If we get into what he predicts their futures to be like, A.J. Brown, he's predicting a 4-year, $96 million extension with the Titans. Terry McLaurin, $1 million more a year, 4 years, $100 million extension with the Commanders. He thinks DK Metcalf will be traded before the season begins. Deontay Johnson, right in between Brown and McLaurin, 4 years, $98 million extension with the Steelers. Barnwell does not believe Deebo Samuel will be traded. He will play out this season and then will be franchise tagged by the 49ers. Marquise Brown has 2 years left on his deal. He believes that Brown will sign with another team in free agency after the 2023 season. Hunter Renfrow, not quite as much as the other guys, but $19 million a year, 3-year, $57 million extension with the Raiders. And Mecole Hardman, leaving the Chiefs via free agency after this season. When it comes to the rankings, I do agree with Hardman being last. I think I would have Samuel higher. Yes, I agree that playing with Shanahan may allow him to play up to the best of his abilities. As we've heard, doesn't seem like he wants to be a wide back anymore where he gets all these carries, but the guy is still super productive. I would have him over Deontay Johnson. It's really a toss up between McLaren, Metcalf, and Samuel. I do agree. He mentions how Terry McLaren has really had no star quarterbacks throwing the ball. Really, a bunch of league average or below average quarterbacks. Whether it's Alex Smith, the late Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heineke, a few other guys. McLaren has not yet had that good quarterback. Carson Wentz, say what you want about him. He's probably the best quarterback throwing the ball to Terry McLaren thus far. And A.J. Brown, he's had his share of ailments, but his ceiling may be the highest of all these guys. So I can agree with having him number one. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with Bill Barnwell's assessments of these 2019 class of wide receivers? The way I see it, there's just so many star receivers in the game right now. Like, wide receivers probably as loaded a position as it's been in many years. The 2019 class also includes Darius Slayton and N'Keal Harry, who has been a bust with the Patriots, but maybe moving on could do something else. I mean, look at some of the guys drafted in 2020. We got Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman Jr., Chase Claypool, Gabriel Davis, and Darnell Mooney. 2021, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, Kadarius Toney, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Jamar Chase. It is expected that a bunch more wide receivers will be taken in the first 2 or 3 rounds in the draft starting on Thursday. So right now, the wide receiver position's loaded. I'm skeptical whether it's really of utmost importance to pay wide receivers this high values that we're seeing some of them get. I mean, don't get me wrong, receivers like Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams are absolute stars. But as I mentioned, the wide receiver position is just loaded right now. So let me know your take on that. Do you believe wide receivers should take up one wide receiver should take up this much of the salary cap, where they're not making quite as much as the star quarterbacks, but they are making significant money? It was just a few years back where $20 million may have been seen as the ceiling for a wide receiver. Now that's kind of like the second tier guys. So it'll be interesting. A lot of big name wide receivers. Let's see what happens. But don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.